call the meeting to order. We have a public hearing this evening in regards to community input on proposed resolution for the waiver of the Wisconsin Department of Public Instructional Hours requirement. I don't see anybody here from the public to speak on the waiver of instructional hours. The DPI has provided us with flexibility to waive a variety of things that are state statutes. Some things you can't waive, some things they can, some things they cannot. But instructional hours is one that they can waive. The reason I will be asking later on in the agenda to waive these hours is, our bus transportation leaves early at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, so it cuts into our instructional time that we normally would have had. Also, if we ever needed to go to virtual instruction because of a situation, if we needed to have a couple days of leeway to get prepared, and even though we have Schoology and we have that opportunity, but if we had to do it quickly and needed a couple of days that were not built into the schedule, again, it would provide us with that flexibility. So really, it's a one-year waiver, and again, it provides us with flexibility to not worry about the requirement of instructional hours at any level.
We're still going to maintain a high expectation of the hours, correct?
Yeah, nothing will change. Nothing will change unless we're forced to change it.
So this is going to come into the normal agenda to be approved, so this is the time to ask a few more questions that are around hybrid and those pieces, or would you rather wait until the other agenda?
No, I think now would be a good time to ask.
Just, a couple questions and concerns, I guess. I was not under the assumption that Wednesday for the students would be possibly a no academic day. I thought there'd be something virtually given to them to possibly do one of those days. I was not clear upon that, but is that true that there is no, as far as virtual things to do, there may be a check-in, but there's not really an academic day given to them?
Yeah, so it's not a teaching day. It doesn't mean they weren't given homework or something to complete, but it's not a virtual instructional day.
So with the extra day, that was to help teachers, because I really think like the high school, a little bit more than the other buildings, they're probably for so many different content areas, and then to try to put those all into a video format, I'm sure it's very daunting task for them. But teachers still have their normal preps the other days, correct?
They do. The other part of Wednesdays was also juggling the full-time virtual group, the quarantine group, and then now the in-person hybrid group. So now you have three groups of kids that you're trying to prepare for, which was also part of the reason to go Wednesdays, having that time on Wednesday.
So I guess my wonder is when in the plan, when things get adjusted, if we're doing another adjustment going to hybrid, when can that be re-looked at to add something virtually given to those kids on an academic Wednesday, just so that there's something, it doesn't have to be like a tape recorder thing, but it can be an activity, an inquiry thing, just to keep learning going is my only thing. I mean, we can tell the kids, go read and go write, right? But unless there's like a little nudge or something, I would like to kind of possibly see something like that happen when we get this hybrid thing figured out. They have that now kind of in a little more of a model, I guess, or routine. Can we possibly look at adding that back in or something like that?
Sure. I think that's something we can always discuss. Without getting into a ton of details, it's very daunting right now.
Sure.
Even the hybrid has been beneficial. I mean, you saw the numbers this morning when I put those out. I mean, it is decreasing, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's always in discussion. It's always up for opportunity. Right now, I still feel like even though this is our third Wednesday, we're still getting our footing of just trying to recoup from everything that occurred prior to that. And then we're also, good, bad, or different, we're also dealing with a pretty significant population that's not doing anything, and trying to communicate with those individuals. Still feeling, obviously responsible to the students who work hard, but also you can't say we're going to allow 25% of our kids just to be retained next year, because I don't think that's possible to do. It's all those things, trying to sort those out in a one-day time, and also communicating with families, trying to communicate with kids, again, trying to prepare. They still have their prep, but obviously we're preparing like never before.
Second comment or question I have too. I hope that when the students are in school, we are honoring using a videotape they have prepared for virtual kids and pressing play in the classroom. I hope that that won't be seen, because I want to honor the parents and the kids that have chosen to come to face-to-face. And we are giving them face-to-face instruction with appropriate, obviously, social distancing. So I just hope that's happening in the classrooms.
So you're concerned about giving them the same video that maybe somebody at home's having?
Yep, yep. And so it'd be like, you know, I have my video prepared for my cohort B on Monday, and then the kids are in my classroom, cohort A, I just press the video. I hope we wouldn't have that as a teacher practice, because then my wonder is, then why do we have kids in school if they're not seeing, hearing that actual teacher, you know, teach them, read a book, whatever it might be. I mean, that's why they're in school, I guess, is my other thing. And then my third thing is to alleviate some of the pressure of these videotapes. Is there something that we need to look at when it comes to the classroom and to honor the Privacy Act? But can there be something that we look at where, I know some districts have like certain technology where it's just in the teacher, everything is muted, so nobody can hear the kids in the classroom, and that is can be, you know, tape record right there without worrying about, did the kids speak up? And so that videotape can be used then, you know, for that next day. Is there something that we need to maybe invest in when it comes to some other devices? And then, or we can't do that, well, I'd like to do it though, actually, because then is it also an expectation we would start to request high school to be synchronous, because they are high school. If we do have that technology and the kids are muted as other districts have done, then there is no worry about videotaping anything. It's, or pre-videotaping. You can use that one in the classroom or deliver it synchronous to the kids that are at home. So is there something that we're, or, you know, we've looked at but it's not going to work for us, or we haven't looked at that avenue?
Eric and Jennifer, do you want to respond at all to that?
Yeah, a few things with the synchronous. That's a little bit of a challenge in this area, because as many hotspots as we have out, there's still students that no matter the hotspot we have for them, they still have no internet.
Okay.
And I talked to a family today that have over 4 kids, and I said, Kajit's not working, I upped the data, still not going to work very well. You can always come in to the school if you like. We have internet access outside buildings here and here. We don't have access to get there. So if we go to synchronous in that case and don't record, they're never going to get it.
So then, with that's being an internet issue, so then what about in the classroom? Do we have the devices needed where the teacher is teaching that class for that day, everybody's muted in the classroom, so this thing cannot pick up any children per se, and then that can be also tape recorded at the same time to be used for the next cohort? Do we have devices like that available?
We have microphones available. We ordered 40 snowball microphones, where it's either omnipresent, where it can pick up the background sound, or it can just pick up the teacher in front of them. To get those, we didn't have enough to get one for every single teacher. The other issue that we have is we do have Chromebooks available for all teachers. As far as getting, let's say, technology out there, as far as webcams and things of that nature, until recently, if you're looking at quality, the quality really wasn't out there because everybody's been making purchases. We just got in our Chromebooks that we ordered back in March. And so I ordered 40 some cameras that can go into classrooms. The quality, and it has a microphone with it. So my goal is that if the Chromebook's not as working or they want to try something different, we do have that available. Except again, it's trying to get that out there, trying to handle everything else that's coming in at the same time. Do we have the same technology other districts, some districts have out there? No. I mean, some of them already been planning way ahead, and this was in the plans ahead of time, not already since March. So that's where we're at right now. And if you ask some of the other, like some of the companies that we use out there, I mean, everybody's vying for the same technology as well right now. So I mean, could we eventually do that? Yes. Would it be expensive? Yes.
Well, we still have some CARES Act money, correct? I've seen that, and we tapped into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, again, as Eric said, we're spending money on things, again, but you're competing with everybody else who wants those products. And as you stated, there were some districts who were moving in this direction before COVID, so they had things in place. So it's not the money piece. I mean, we would spend the money to get it. It's just, we're gonna be waiting a while to get it, unless we get lucky. I mean,
Just a clarification, Eric, I mean, what I heard there, maybe I heard it wrong, is you talked about the limitations of some families that either can't get internet, have decided not to get internet, and won't drive or can't drive to the school, and that's dictating our strategy?
I don't think dictating our strategy. I think it's one of the things that we talked about a lot of times in admin was trying to make as equal as possible to all students. So if all of a sudden we say we're doing synchronous and we're not going to record the lessons, you have to be on, like some districts, you have to be on 8 hours a day. They're not going to have that availability to do that. We also, in some cases, when I look at it, I can give you studies as well that over an hour and a half of non-engaged screen time, after an hour and a half, learning goes down dramatically. And that was one of my concerns that I listed throughout the summer as well. And so I don't think that dictates a strategy at all, but I'm just throwing out there, what are outliers out there within our community? Because if we were in Green Bay and we had Spectrum and everybody can get Spectrum, there are plans for that, definitely, yeah. But in here, when you have people that are in the country, and no matter what we get them, we have to try to provide something. I mean, we're not always going to reach all of our population. And so that would be my biggest concern, going just synchronous 100%.
And I would just add to that was our expectation, that they have to go synchronous and they have to offer that, and Harley and Anna maybe can say if that happens, but they're trying to record themselves while they're doing that, so the kid has to actually be on live, the teacher just streams their Chromebook and can be on, or they record it. There's still some work in progress to get some of those people to get that all done. But I think the teachers are trying to get to that point where they're seeing a video lesson, at least, of instruction, or they're right on and they can be live with them. But like he said, like I have terrible internet. My kid can get on somewhat, but my kid can also drive in if he can't get it. But some of those people that are watching it, their siblings and all that, that's also dictating what we're trying to do for the kids, where they can videotape it, watch it the next day and start or something like that to catch up. So that also factors in.
I don't want to interrupt you more. Did you have more?
I think that was my third thing.
Okay.
That was it.
One of the, and I've discussed some of this with Tom, but I mean, I'm hearing pretty clearly that we're holding it together, right? But there's a lot of challenges in all the schools. When it comes to how do you differentiate between a kid, a student that decides, I'm not going to do anything, I'm not going to log in, and they're just going to pass me through. We can't let that happen, right? On the same hand, if you have a student that was going to school 5 days a week, now they're going to school 2 days a week, and then they've got a second day, and some of it's coming recorded, some of it hopefully is going to be synchronous. So we're not going to, and then we've got Wednesday, which there's no learning, as you pointed out. So you have a student that is getting nowhere near the educational experience that we would like to have them get being here 5 days a week. So then when it comes to assessments and passing them and grading them, are we grading them against the standard had they been here 5 days a week? Are we grading them on a curve with the students that are in those classes? Or are we possibly penalizing kids that aren't exposed to the curriculum based on, in fact, they're only here 2 days a week, really? And I know we're doing when your other cohort is in class, you're expected to learn, you're expected to do the assignments, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not saying we need to make it easy, because then the people that are doing nothing may get by. And I know we're sending truancy letters and we're trying to hold our feet to the fire a little bit there. But I also, to take a student that is normally a higher performer and now we're grading them, and I don't know the answer, it's probably different for every class. But if all of a sudden some of those students are getting C's and D's and some F's, how do we find a happy medium? How do we keep them motivated not demoralize them, and not make this more of a mental health issue as we continue down this road, because you look at the latest numbers, right? I don't see any massive improvements in the county. So we're not coming back full time anytime soon. Is there thought of us maybe going virtual? Yes, certainly. It's a possibility. So I know last spring, we're not going back to last spring where we went past fail, and we've all, a primary concern was mental health. But where are we today with not letting people off the hook, but still understanding that there's a lot of stress on these people. We're only really teaching them face-to-face 2 days a week. How are we assessing? Mike.
And I'm sure, Jen, that probably comes up as a discussion for you guys all the time in the building. I mean,
In fact, we're dealing with a lot of those questions of like, we're letting incompletes happen to keep these kids motivated, because you don't know when your credit, your percentage is a certain percentage, there's no chance you pass the semester, and then all these kids are just gonna give up. We don't want that, so we're having those discussions of leaving it open as an eye, as a hammer, I discussed that, and he's open for that. But also keeping a reality of not challenging too much, and keeping it, like we talked about, half your standards, targets, versus just hammering kids that are just overwhelmed and are going to give up if not. So we are still having those discussions in some classes to keep that balance. And to go back to your Wednesday question, just to clarify too, that our expectation for high school is that there is some learning, it's more minimal, but there is an expectation you have to do something. And one of our strongest expectation was like an ACT question. Like that's a minimum for that class that day, is give them an ACT question. I know that doesn't maybe apply to the seniors as much, but that's a good practice thing for them to do on that day. That's at least some kind of accountability, and that they keep the learning going. So we are still having those discussions. That's a big issue.
Yeah.
That there's a little bit of, too much of a range of what's expected here and what's not expected.
I like that. I mean, I'm trying. I don't have a kid still anymore, but like Wednesdays, some parents are like, "What am I going to do with my kid on Wednesday? Like, we need a little school." And so, is there something like an ACT for elementary, but is there something that the parents can say, "Oh, you have something to do today," versus laying on the couch for now 8 hours? Giving them some sort of prompt, or I don't know. And if it takes time for us to buy something to again alleviate that stress from the teachers, then we got to start looking at some of those avenues. Scholastic has some great things that we did in the spring, and they were free. Maybe if they're not free, we buy it. And they're wonderful exploratory inquiry things. They have a book and it reads it to you. I know it went K4, maybe K5. If that's what it takes, time to help the teachers out, because they don't need one more thing to do. But I want something about the parents too. Like, we want to keep that school normalcy kind of happening, because our goal is to hopefully get back.
And I think, I've been on school with you with some of the elementary staff, and they do have things on Wednesday, like assigned, first thing. I know they're using Sora from the library as far as, read alouds and similar things that you're talking about, that we purchased that also.
Okay.
So I don't think it's that, and I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I don't think it's that they're not assigning things on Wednesday, like to keep them active and just saying, hey, you're off on this day. So I think there are things planned ahead. And going back, what I'm hearing Ross say, and Jen, it's more discussion that we can have is, the students who are usually very strong and the high flyers is there a level of frustration there because they aren't getting the amount of content, and then our teachers assessing them as if they're there 5 days a week, and some kids are failing or getting D's or C's, and then
because it does have lasting effects, right? I mean, these kids, if they're juniors or seniors, and the ACT now isn't going to happen, and most colleges are saying we don't care about the ACT. What are they going to look at? They're going to look at GPAs. They're going to look at what classes you took, and if we're being tougher on our kids than a surrounding, a competitive district is, and those kids are applying to the same school, and we give a kid, you said top flyer, let's say above average kid, a C in a core class, and that's very outside what they typically would have gotten, are we doing our kids a disservice? Because we really don't have the opportunity to teach them like we want to teach them. So how can we penalize them? And it's two separate discussions. I'm not talking about the kids that are doing nothing. I'm talking about the kids that are here, they're just not getting enough exposure to the content. What do we do with them?
I think that goes back to them trying to fit all their stuff they're supposed to fit in, and they need to let some of that go. So we just can't fit it all.
I guess it would help us too to just, whatever. I mean, having those kids discuss that or parents discuss that, that's a concern. Just so, we're keeping up to speed on that. So.
Because there's so much dialogue that can go around, and the thing that doesn't talk is the transcript. The transcript's going to sit in front of somebody that's taking a decision on a student that's one of our students, and if they don't get an opportunity because of the the process we're going through right now that we're maybe being critical. I don't know that we are, but I just want to make sure that we don't.
And I hear all those things, and again, it gives us more to work on, more to, persevere.
I have a question for you. For the kids, I have 2 grandkids, I have 2 grandkids and everything, but the biggest thing that I've noticed with them is I do have a lack of internet. So one can only be on the internet at a time while the other one does something else. So I tried to talk to the teacher and everything, and have them bring books home. One of the biggest things, they're lacking books again. They cannot, like the physical books to bring home, we just don't have it there and all of that. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just not there. So then if you try to go to Red Granite Library is closed and you can only do roadside pickup. And at the Watoma Library, you only allow 10 people in at a time. So did we ever look into the classrooms for the kids to be able to get the books the teachers
Yeah,
have?
they got their classroom library, they should be able to check books out of the regular library, out of the school library. So you're being told that they can't?
One book.
Well, yeah, I don't think they're allowing them to take a ton of books out, because they bring one back, they let it sit for 24 hours, and then they, go that, but I think,
But
once
do
that
we
book
have enough
is,
in the
what's that?
In the classrooms, though, that's why I was like. well,
I don't know if they're allowing kids to take their classroom books home. Just so you know, if the library books can be checked out one at a time, I think that's fine. But again, they're,
Tom, can we look at like Capstone, Pebble Books, those little companies that have lower level readers, it does go to like 3rd, 4th grade, but they're so inexpensive that if the book gets swallowed up by the house, who cares? But at least there's more books going home, and we get those to our elementary schools at least, so that one book is not enough. And if I was a parent on a Wednesday going, read your book, literally that'd give you 10 minutes, and then there's another 7 hours to go. So can we look at some options of those where they're simple paperback, they're still colored books, they're not paper, but they're soft cover, and they're pretty cheap, and if we can just get those.
pretty much just giving them out.
Correct.
Not
And if
wanting
they come
to-
back.
The issue is getting them,
Yeah.
the issue is the whole rules of getting stuff back and quarantining it and all those things. We're trying to limit that, so,
And we have online subscriptions for all the children, correct?
say again.
Kids all have online reading subscriptions to something,
Yeah, to
correct?
Sora.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have RAS Kids too. Do we need another website? Do we need 2 different websites for kids to go to for online learning?
Sora's pretty comprehensive, yeah.
You got for kindergarten too, correct? Kindergarten?
Yeah, it's all the way through, yeah.
It's just overwhelming.
But you can't use the internet though, that's an issue. Internet, you need.
But,
Yeah, that doesn't
but it's
help.
not only that, I don't want them on this thing all day.
Yeah.
I want them to go in a corner, read a book, and then enjoy something. It is very hard for, they're sliding down the chair, they're done. I mean, when you're 8 hours they're done, and I just want them to have a physical book, just go out and read.
We can look at that and see if we
not.
can get something for it.
Yeah.
But they should still be able to check them out of the school library, and just when they're done, return that one, and they check out another one. Any other items related to the waiver of instructional hours? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'd like to call our work meeting to order. Item B, verification of public notice and approval of agenda.
Second.
Motion by Nicole, second by Jeanette. Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item C is moment of silence to reflect on the business at hand. Item D, the Watoma Area School District Strategic Plan.
We should state the Creative Project Foundation for the assessment. That's their challenge.
Strategic direction, business and community involvement through internship, job shadowing, and mentorship.
Develop marketing of the district and community through branding.
Improve work and people skills.
Develop parent-child contract, promoting school involvement.
Build productive relationships with the medical field to increase the support and open lines of communication to support students with mental health issues. Item E, recognition of persons wishing to address the board. We have none. Item F, consent agenda. Staffing, we have 1 hire, Jessica Petch at Parkside Special Ed.
Jessica, you want to stand
There she is. Now say it correctly, Petch?
Yep, Patch,
Yeah.
Our new seventh grade special ed.
And this is Coral Newton. Coral teaches special education at Parkside also. And not only does she know Jessica, but she also served as a mentor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Adam, second by Brian. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay if you'd like to stay, but you're also welcome to leave. You take your own decision.
It's gonna get really exciting here.
Yeah.
The good stuff we already did, so.
Item G, action items, business and finance. Approve the tax levy and mill rate for 2020, 2021. Does somebody want to speak to this, or? Cindy?
So as we've been hearing all along, we are coming this year, we're being taken up to the 10,000 per student level. So that was another $297 per student this year. Our levy is down to exactly here. $6.37 per thousand. Okay? Down from last year, it was 7.11.
7.11.
Yeah. And so we are looking at a total tax levy of $176,155. This broken out into three areas. The tax levy for general operations is $6.5 million. Community service fund, we talked about, we're going to take that up to $200,000 this year because we're starting to take more of the after-school program on as a service. As the grants kind of start, they're not drying up, but we don't have a grant for a grant. And we are not allowed, with the grant, we're not allowed to charge fees. And so the only way that we can support Red Granite is by doing it through a community service. And so this year, for the last several years, we've had Kendra Knudsen in Fund 80 as our coordinator. And this year, we're going to put the Red Granite program in there as well. And then the third part is for our energy exemption payments and interest, $436,000. That's exactly, it's fall, it's in the spring we pay the principal and interest for half a year, and then in September we pay the other half of the interest from the previous year. So, we're looking like we have to levy to the cap, but this year we had an interesting thing because we have a non-recurring exemption for $508,000, and that is from that's from our declining enrollment and energy efficiency. Part of that gets taken into that account. Adjustment for refund, last year we had to pay back $4,900 because of some tax monies that didn't come in, and so then we get that back the next year from our levy. And then prior year open enrollment, uncounted pupils. And so that was a total of $508,672. So our total that we could, that was our cap, was it was the 7.176, and we state that would have been 7.6 million, but we had the decline enrollment exemption, so that has to come off of what we can levy for. So, do you have any questions? It's a confusing formula, and but it seems to work, and we seem to do well with it. our budget, as we looked at in August at the annual meeting, we are planning to be able to put another 200,000 into our Fund 36 at the end of this year. We have budgeted for that. So, and that's going to just buy us money from here on out because we don't have to pay, we can use it without being over our tax, our cap. Revenue.
Any questions? Okay, we need a motion to approve the tax levy.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Brian, second by Karen. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Cindy. Item 2, policy 2A, approve the request to Wisconsin DPI for a 1-year instructional hours waiver, as we discussed.
And again, going back to what Nicole said, our expectations will be high. We're not looking to try to skirt the system. Again, we're leaving school early because of the busing situation. Once we don't have to do that anymore in the future, we'll never do that. We'll finish out. I think we will have a new busing system in the future because it's working very well. Wednesdays, I think we can still sell Wednesdays as instructional because we are providing them with opportunity. I know, again, at the high school level and middle school level, when given work, that Wednesday is considered a work day for them to continue to do what they need to do to get the work done. I believe if we had to go virtual, I would hope that there would never be an emergency situation where I would get a call saying you need to shut down like tomorrow. I can't guarantee that though. So I guess that also gives us a little bit of cushion there. So again, this is just for this year. We'll continue to try to improve in the hybrid model. We will improve, and we'll take your suggestions and keep working hard at them as we move forward.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Adam, second by Nicole. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item B, approve policy 5200, attendance revisions, first consideration.
So Neola, with virtual learning, Neola has added some components of holding virtual students accountable for their attendance. So those pieces are written into this policy. So this was our attendance policy. They added some wording in regarding virtual learners. It's very general, it's very vague. Definitely gives us a lot of latitude on what we can do, which is what we want. I did also give you, just so you have for your own reference, in case anybody ever asks you, these are each letter by building that has been sent out to families regarding attendance. So whether it's Parkside, Riverview, Red Grand, or the high school, and what the potential consequences are if you do not attend or do not follow through with your expectations of being a virtual learner. I will tell you that we're putting a lot of, again, having finite amount of time, we're putting our effort as far as truancy and attendance thing into the people who chose to be full-time virtual. It was a choice by them to do that, and so those individuals who have put no effort in whatsoever into that, that's where a lot of our truancy letters are going. Kids who are quarantined, kids who now have gone hybrid, we're not saying we're not holding them accountable, but it's hard to juggle all three groups as far as attendance. Quarantine kids didn't want to be quarantined. Sometimes they're close contacts or their siblings were ill. We send them home for 14 days. We expect them to work, but sometimes it's something that got put on their parents that their parents weren't prepared for, that they had to be home for those days. And so the parents may not be able to be home with them during that time. Again, hybrid students, again, on the days they're not here, it's still new to us. We're still trying to keep tabs on that. But the group who made a choice, and overall is the full-time virtual group, that they made that choice to not be here or be any part of the school at all. So right now, that's where the administrators are putting the most time and effort into truancy. Doesn't mean down the road we can't start devoting more time to the other groups. But right now, this is the time to do all three groups.
And it's not that we're discriminating against that group, we're only talking about the people who chose that route and then did basically nothing.
Correct.
Yeah.
But not engaged. We know the hybrid kids are going to be back on the other days, so we can keep working with them and trying to get caught up. We know the quarantine kids are going to be back, so we can work with them on trying to get caught up. The full-time virtual kids, we never see them. So there's no way we can help them. And so if they're not getting on the program, if the parents won't communicate with us, then correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Johnson, numerous phone calls, numerous messages, letters sent, certified letters, regular letters, still no response. Now comes the citation, now comes the Ruth Zalski from Corporation Counsel saying you need to meet at the courtroom regarding attendance. Then all of a sudden, we started having kids coming to school because of that. And so, it's still, those are the fights that we're fighting right now with attendance.
Is it mostly high school, would you say, of the numbers? No. What would you say grade level, age, or range would be mostly?
I think it's pretty equal K.
Pretty equal across primary to high school?
Probably even a little worse sometimes at the elementary level.
Are we also, to help the teachers out, I know we said we really want the kids to be in school, but we're allowing the parents that they chose virtual, they want to come back in as their goal, but are we also limiting how many times they can hop back and forth to alleviate that stress on the teachers of, oh, you're here, oh, you're not here? Do we eliminate how many times they can do that?
The area that we're most flexible is they started out in person,
Okay.
decided to go virtual, and they're like, yeah, it just didn't work.
Okay.
We haven't come back. We'd rather have them in the building.
Okay. They can't hop back out.
Kids who started in the building, kids who started virtual and then said, oh, we want to come back in the building, we are very clear. If you want to go virtual again, it's going to be on you. So either you're going to homeschool them or you're going to go to a virtual school.
Okay.
So we're not going virtual building virtual.
Okay.
Yeah, we've given some grace on building virtual. Oh man, I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. Back to the building, because we really want them back. We don't want to stop that from occurring. Now, in the same breath, I think we want to go virtual again. No. Once they come back into the building, if you want to go virtual again, that's on you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go virtual again, you just can't come.
Not with us.
Okay, any other questions on that first consideration?
I'll make that motion to approve policy 5200 attendance revisions first consideration.
I'll second it.
Motion by Nicole, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved for first consideration. Item C, approved new policy 8450.01, personal protective equipment during pandemic, epidemic events, first consideration.
So this is a brand new policy that Neola has created for districts, and again, it just giving districts more power and we, last time we met, we connected it to communicable diseases, which we have the right to do also. This gives us even a little more clear direction of, as a school district, you giving me the right, through our discussion with Department of Health, we need to have PPE because our community is in a bad situation, whether it's COVID or, some other virus that comes down the road. Gives us the right to make that decision that we can require people to wear facial coverings. And so it goes through that whole piece of the policy. So one more layer that gives us power to require that. I'll try.
No, Tom, I noticed the policy offers some provisions where you pay for certain things for staff and students. I think you're reading that, but anything that's purchased now, we're purchasing with CARES money, right? Or some other coronavirus vehicle money that's not.
We are using CARES money for that, you are correct. Oh, and I'm sorry, and I just wanted to let you know, thank you, Russ, I apologize. In the first section, it's the paragraph that starts in addition. I'm going to make a change in it to say 4K. We are requiring 4K with facial coverings now. Yeah, so I want to put that in there. I drafted this before we did that, and so I didn't go back and change it in here. I just noticed today. So I will go back in this draft policy, change that to 4K, just so you're aware. We went kindergarten because that's what the governor said. We have the right to do 4K. I mean, by rule, the CDC says nobody under 2. Well, that's not an issue. We did have some cases in the 4K program. I'm not saying it's spread through the 4K program. However, it's hard to justify to those staff that every other teacher has kids who have facial coverings on, except for their kids. And they're coming here and working every day with those kids. So we talked it through a little bit. We feel like it's, for safety purposes, to be equitable across the board is the right thing to do. And most of those kids wear them, they have to wear them on the bus anyways in 4K. They have to wear them when they get ready to go on the bus or when they get ready to go anywhere in the hallways. They all put them on. So it's not that they're not used to wearing them. So.
Any other questions or comments on the PPE policy? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Adam, second by Brian. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I understand, Jen, the next two you're going to speak to, would it be okay to take them together, or would you rather take them separately?
We can go together.
Okay, so we've got item D and E, approved policy 5430, class rank, first consideration, and the academic excellence scholarship revisions first consideration, because they do kind of go together.
Yep, and then you'll see under the valedictorian, salutatorian honors, with the understanding that obviously with target-based grading, this could change again. You might see this policy in the future again soon. But obvious updates needed to happen. For example, our 4 credits in English, we have an AP language arts and composition. We had no kids sign up for that, so obviously that didn't apply, that the students had to have that. So we wanted them to have the advanced placement or a dual credit. So we're recommending a change to at least having an AP course or a dual credit course as the expectation to be eligible for that honor, which all kids are in that situation right now. There's nobody that's going to be in an advantage or a disadvantage for that situation. And then the other 2 updates for the credits are under science and math, and those are requirements of the state anyway, except 2, they need to be 3. And then the only other exception was the math and geometry, which was taken the second year, and we wanted to move that up to the advanced algebra, obviously, to make that a little more challenging. So you see that on the class rank policy, and you obviously see that on the academic excellence scholarship change as well. So they're consistent.
Just to clarify, Jen, again, there's no juniors or seniors that this will affect somehow, hurt them or help them.
Correct. Right.
And as we move to target-based grading, this will probably change
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
but it's still the right thing to do. Previous principal didn't do a very good job of looking at that schedule, or that policy.
Our policy as well.
Did not.
Drop the ball, previous principal.
I agree, Ms. Miller, our counselor, caught it, so I'll give her credit for catching it.
Pretty straightforward. Any questions or comments?
I wish that had changed when I was in school. I could have been that salutatorian. The geometry screwed me up. I was really good in algebra, so
Did you take that in 7th grade?
I took geometry twice, I liked it so much.
One we paid for, one we didn't.
When we paid, one was free.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion D and E together.
I'll make a motion to approve D&E. I'll second.
Motion by Nicole, second by Jeanette. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item H, board governance. Oklahoma Area School Board Member Recognition Awards. I can't come shake your hand anyway, so I'll recognize, this is Nicole Lear, award level 1. Barry's not here, but Barry Mastrocola, award level 3. Nice pins here also. And Jeanette Cohen, award level 4. So, congratulations. I got the hardware here, so don't leave without it. Item I, board suggested future agenda items for a monthly meeting on November 9th, right back here in the high school library. At this point, does anybody have anything that they would like to add?
We'll take those items that we discussed, and we haven't had a meeting on November 9th also before the meeting, so I'll make sure they get out there so people have time to reflect on them, so we can get together and discuss them. Some of the things we can move fast from.
Yeah.
If you get, is at the time, Tom, if you get reports, is it quarterly of how many kids are from the principals virtual and face-to-face? I know you gave us something early on. Is that going to be the quarterly thing? If not, could it be the next meeting? So we just know how many kids are full virtual and how many are face-to-face?
Have to do it for the quarterly.
Okay, I didn't know if it was quarterly.
Yeah, we usually put it in November.
Okay, so perfect.
You're okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if you do have anything to add, let us know prior to then. If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Hey, give you guys an update real quick. So Deb